Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lancer Performance Shop, Lone Star, Mopars.com. First off, Merry Christmas. That's right, as things fall this year, Christmas is on a Saturday. That means this video drops on Saturday the 25th. That means it is Christmas. So, very Merry Christmas to all of you. I certainly appreciate you tuning in, checking out the videos, leaving comments, interacting, and hopefully you enjoy your time on the channel as well. Now, that said, this year, I'm currently recording this obviously a little bit in advance. I'm trying to catch up. Looking forward to doing more in the shop. I've got a ton of cleaning to do, lots of projects to come. Want to wrap the truck up, all kinds of stuff that you'll see pan out here in the future. But right now, trying to make the most of while I've got downtime. So I'm trying to, like I said, get these videos cranked out. As I projected ahead and planned it out, we kind of had December as the month of KC tool hauls. And this one is going to be special, something we've never done, something I'm very interested in, and most importantly for you, something I think you're going to enjoy. Now, if it's Christmas time, you sadly will have a hard time tracking this item down. More on that later, but something you can track down still. This wasn't Black Friday, this wasn't, Cyber Monday. This is through the end of the year, through 12/31/2021 is the KC Tool Seasonal. Brand new items being the outline hoodie and the beanie, which you can see front cover and back cover. And then in the middle, you'll see that you've also got sale prices on their keychain. They've got two versions of hats. They've got the coffee mug. They've got the old school t-shirt. We've covered the prices before. This can be found under the seasonal tab. It's kind of like a roughly 3-month sale, so you're gonna have 4 of them throughout the year. They just kind of started this stuff back up, and this is what they've got this time. So if you're looking for some KC Tool merch, or if you've got an order to place and you're almost to a free shipping threshold of $75, if you're almost to the $100 threshold where you get the German Tool sticker pack, consider those items because they're dirt cheap, and most importantly, I've got them and they're good quality. So it's something whether you want to just change oil in them, if you want to wear them all the time, take your wife out on dates in your KC Tool hoodie, whatever you want to do, now's the time to cash in because you can save a little bit. If you don't exceed the $100 threshold, which, spoiler alert, this tool haul did, or if you do, whatever order you place, you get a bit of thanks from KC Tool. They're currently shipping the trademark Felo #2. That's, of course, also stamped KC Tool. So, what is special about this video? Well, aside from it being Christmas, I've got a Christmas theme for you. Now, this year we did the Ratchet Advent Calendar. Those are usually the most popular. They sell out. I tell people as soon as they're available to buy them. It's not like you're going to catch them on super sale, unless it's well after Christmas and stock exists, which has not been the case with their Advent calendars. This, we brought in a Stavilla Advent Calendar, but with that one, it was like after the fact. That one actually did last. That's what I planned to do last year, and it sold out really fast. The Hazet Advent Calendar, I have never had one. I've never brought one in. This will be our first experience with it. There's also some other reasons I'm super stoked about this thing. I don't know if we should flip it over and talk about that, or if we should just time-lapse going through the doors. To give you an overview of the box, that's pretty much it. You can kind of see it frame to frame there as we get some junk on the workbench in. But it's still got the glossy plastic on it, which the Cuttix will take care of. This one's going to be cool. I think what I'm going to do, since we've never done it, we've sort of done these in different configurations. Some people want to see the excitement of each door. Some people are just like, dump everything out, show it to us, we don't care. This is going to be another option that we could use possibly in the future. What I plan to do is try to go day by day, like just looking around, trying to find like number 1. It's escaping me. Maybe it's under that. I don't know. We shall see. But we might time-lapse this one. If not, if I don't like the way that pans out, we'll probably just cut to the tools, which some of you might prefer. I will tell you, if you're new here, I use timestamps and links. They're in the description box. They're there for your convenience. So if you're like, man, this is stupid, I'm not going to watch a time-lapse, click show more, check in the description box. You'll see something where I say like tools out of the box or something along those lines, and you can see it. Discussion, so on and so forth. Standard tool hauls, we do that as well. But this is the front of the box. If I show you the back, it'll spoil everything, and some of you may not know what's in here. We shall see. I do want to mention, before I forget, with the Advent calendars, typically across the spectrum, especially with Vera and Hazet, it's a situation where These are almost like teasers of what's to come. You know, maybe not this year, maybe the next year, but in the not too distant future, you're typically going to see these sets expanded upon. Case in point, the Hazet Advent Calendar last year, which was very, very, very tempting. It was their introduction of the silent gear, which is slightly different than Ghidorah's silent gear in terms of like bit storage and magazines and stuff like that. And then, of course, they've been released. Same thing, you'll see Vera kind of like tease some stuff, and then boom, you know, a couple months later, you're like, hey, this is a full launch of what we had in the Advent Calendar. Sometimes it stays exclusive. Sometimes there's certain items that stay exclusive to the Advent Calendar. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the plastic. I will see if we can time-lapse this thing. If you see me derping around trying to find doors, part of it, there's a camera right here, and it hinders my, my view. I see two, I still don't see one, so I'm hoping it's up over there under the red sticker, which I'll kind of showcase to you. That guy, I'm hoping that's where one is, but let me know your thoughts on it. If you prefer seeing the time-lapse and the festive music, if you just want the tools, if you want to see me open literally door by door and not time-lapse it. It's one of those deals, you can't please everybody, so I just try to vary it, and we'll eventually try to find one that seems to work best for the greatest number, and call it good. So, with that said, I still can't breathe out of the left side of my nose, no clue what's going on, but I'm going to try to enjoy opening this, and I'll catch you back here when we've got the tools out. Alright, so there is the carnage, the post-Advent calendar, where we've got, I believe, all the doors open. It's kind of cool. Some of them actually had multiple items. You have to sort of be tricky. I will tell you the biggest disadvantage here is, as predicted, we've got a tripod in front of us with a giant camera on it, and that makes it a little difficult to see things. If you're frustrated with me, even though it's a time-lapse, I apologize. I would probably be the same way if you were the one doing this. So, with that said, most importantly, I think we've got everything out of here. We're going to populate our smart case and see what we've got. Alright, so sticking with the new theme, I decided it'd be cool to kind of just have all the tools loose and take a look at them this way, then populate the case. The case, I'm not going to lie, one of the things I am the most excited about. Trying to contend with my nose back here, so my apologies again on that front, but this is kind of what we get in a nutshell, right? Or in a smart case, as we're going to investigate shortly. In terms of just raw contents, we've got a quarter, hex bit to 1/4 inch drive adapter. We have got a 1/4 inch quick coupler type of a deal, an extension, whatever you want to call it in this case. We've got quarter drive sockets, 8, 10, and 13. We've got wrench ends, or insert wrenches. I'm not exactly sure what to call these. And I'm not gonna lie, it's one of the things I was very excited about as well. 8, 10, and 13 matching our sockets. In terms of your bit selection, your red stripes up there, that's going to be a number 1 and 2 Phillips. The black stripes right here, let's actually zoom in, that'd probably be cool for you. The black stripes, number 1 and 2 Posi. Right here, we're going to have a 4, 5, and 6. That'll be our metric square hexes. Sadly, no SAE, but that's kind of to be expected. Right here, this is an interesting deal. Okay, this is your slotted. Not that that's interesting in itself, but it's the size selections. You got a 6.5. That's going to be your big one. A 4. And then a 1.5, which I actually think is a cool gesture because This is what you're going to use most of the time. This will work where that doesn't. Most people probably just like throwing something in between, or, you know, like a 3. The 1.5, you're down to like eyeglass size, right? You know, like the screws that always come out of your sunglasses or something. So that was actually cool to see. It's going to make this a little bit more useful, more likely to be used for some people, and gives you that much more opportunity to use the bits. That's another thing with an advent calendar. You know, yes, there's people who just buy it to collect it, but there's some people that might pick this up, and the more they actually use this, which it could be because of something as simple as sunglasses or something, the more likely they are to be like, hey, you know, these bits are really nice, you know, or, oh, hey, this Ratchet is really cool. I'm going to expand my collection. Let me see if there's more available now. So that's sort of another auxiliary goal of the Advent Calendar. In terms of torques, it's the most populous selection. You get 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 40. So I believe that is everything. And then, of course, elephant in the room is the Bit Ratchet. You do also get a gift card. From what I understand, every single gift card wins something. It's on Hazet's fan shop. That's a place I've checked out before. I don't understand why the German tool companies don't send swag, merchandise, this type of stuff that you'll see there to their American suppliers to sell to the American consumer. I don't understand it, you know. If Snap-on is overseas and you've got their tool truck there, you know, in downtown London at your shop, yeah, you can buy a Ratchet, but you can also buy t-shirts and sweatshirts and, you know, all kinds of stuff. So it's one front. I think that frustrates the suppliers as well. They're like, man, people would buy this stuff, you know, why can't we have it? So that's something to keep in mind, but that'll sort of wet your whistle, give you a good chance to look that over. Maybe at some point in time we'll make a standalone on that. But what we have here is a pretty unique setup for a couple of reasons. Number one, let's just start here. With the Bit Ratchet, this would sort of be like your heavy hitter, your high expense item, right? And this is their part number 863 MHP. Again, currently, this is the only place I know of you can get this. This is also my first time to have a Hazet Ratchet that doesn't have a comfort grip on it. So I kind of, it's not knurled on the end, but it is something that we can kind of grab. You don't slip. It's pretty tight. This is the bad thumb, and I'm able to kind of feel the ridges in it even, so that's cool. But it is a Bit Ratchet, as you can tell, number one, because you see my glove in the back, you know, work mat down there on the bench. Here is the business end of it. Of course, you can, if your bits get stuck, you can pop it out. You got your selector switch here, very smooth. We'll do a comparison here in a little bit to their standard Bit Ratchets, but this is what we get now. Let's just come in, because this is the easiest thing for you to see. And it's sort of like the next big ticket item. I have to say, every single bit here has a luster like I've never seen on bits that I brought in. They are machined really well. The best place to probably showcase that is here with the biggest hex. So again, there it kind of gives you a look at how the, you know, branding and the banding is to identify blue as your metric hex, the size. If we... I don't know that you're going to be able to appreciate that, but you know, like whenever you're manually machining, well, I guess some of you will know, like if you've got a manual lathe, you know, and you're turning a part, and then you've got a CNC and you're turning the same part, you know, like way faster, obviously, the finish that you get from the CNC kind of emits this like mirror-like luster. If your fingernail was here, do you hear that? That's how fine the machining is. That's why it's got that sort of high luster to it. It could also be a different steel. But I mean, they're almost like a mirror chrome bit, which is strange. It's really cool. I kind of dig it. But it's something that you're not usually accustomed to. Just random stamped Felo number 2 coming out of the bit holder there. See how dark that is in comparison? If these look like these are silver and that looks like it's charcoal or something, that's the color contrast that it is in real life as well. So, I have no idea why I could breathe slightly better last night. This is not going well for me behind the camera here, but we shall survive. What I wanted to highlight, though, is this is sort of like the most disappointing thing in this kit so far. And it's mainly just because the Hazet logo is so washed right there. Not a big deal. It would eventually happen if you use it, but it sort of would have been cool if it was like more prominent. So what we're going to do, though, is plug this in. So we can do two things. Number one, showcase how the bits would insert, and two, take a look at the ratchet itself. So here we go. Pretty much exactly what I expect from the Hazet HP line. Very smooth. 90-degree tooth. That's right. If you need like a really good bit ratchet, this is sort of your ticket because it was in the Advent Calendar. You've got a really nice bit ratchet at this point in time. So congratulations to you. Well, let's go ahead now and plug in the 6 just so you can appreciate, the high luster bits spinning. If I could pick it up, we'll plug it in. Very cool. That appears to be a fairly deep recessed magnet. I think you can see it down in there. I'll shut up so you can listen. It is strong, but it's not objection. Sometimes like the magnets in these bit holders are so strong, it's kind of a, an effort, a real fight to get the bits back sometimes. This, the way the tolerances are and the strength of the magnet, I say this is just right. It's positive retention. It's not going anywhere. But then when you want to pull it out, it doesn't really fight you. And that's kind of one of the things I would like to see. Coming in right here, this little adapter, whether you've got, like depth that you're going for or you need close quarters, you can set it up either way. We're going to take our hex bit holder. We're going to plug this in. It fits really well in there. Again, that's probably the closest I've ever had a magnetic bit holder be to what I would say is perfection. Not saying it's perfect, but it's not super weak and it's not super strong. It's kind of in that middle ground, and it's very easy to tell. I would rather err on the side of me having to fight for my life to get the bit out versus it just flopping and falling out. But this right here, that might be one of the high points. Let me get a part number off of this, just in case. It will be Hazet 2239-1. Kind of hard to see, as I mentioned. I think you can, with the luster just right, you can kind of make out what I read to you, 2239-1. So again, that was my complaint. As if this was like black or just a different luster type of a deal, I think it would have been a good ticket. What we're gonna do, if you've never seen a Hazet socket, this could be your first time and you're like, whoa, mirror finish and then satin, what is going on? That's how they do them. It's kind of, Gador does something similar. You're either going to love the aesthetic or hate the aesthetic. If you can't decide if you prefer like the full-on chrome of an American socket or some like cheap import, or if you prefer, like Stavilla where it's just a satin finish, and you're like, man, I wish I could just have one that's both. Well, Hazet is your ticket. Their sockets, this is one of the things I'm going to say, their sockets, like let's say that you wind up loving these 6-point metrics and you're like, hey, I'm just going to complete the set. Or maybe what you do, you're never going to use over 13 with quarter drive, and you're like, man, if I could get 6, 7, 9, and 11, I'd be home free. Do it. If you just need the 11, do it. They will not kill you, especially in quarter drive. They're somewhat reasonable. Especially by Hazet standards. But grabbed the 13. One of the things that kills me with the German brands, and this is not a knock on Hazet so many times, and there's also other companies that do the same thing, but this is a 13mm socket. I'm fine with Hazet being there. Then we get 850. I get it. That designates what it is. It's part of the part number, but then the -13, and then you've got made in Germany, which is also awesome. But, there's a lot of stuff going on there. So if you have a full set and they're out of place on the rail, or you've been doing a project and you've got them strung out, it sort of just slows you down because you have to stop and be like, is that the 13? And then you finally realize that it is, and you move on with your day. But it's sort of like, even with wrenches, it's like open box 13. And you're like, but this is a 10mm wrench, and it's just one of those things, a small minor complaints. But that said, let's not take away the joy of seeing the socket go on for you, if it can. Pretty tight fit here, which I guess we'd want that. Boom. So at this point in time, we've taken our 90 tooth bit ratchet, we've got our long extension, we've got the hex drive to quarter drive adapter, and we've got a 13mm socket. So SAE equivalent, this will be like having, a 1/2-inch nut driver, on hand. So pretty cool little setup, I must say. Let's go ahead and simplify this a bit. Note that pulled out before this pulled out. That one was a little stiff, but what we will do now is yank this out. We're going to go close quarters with that same setup. So let's say that you have limited height here that you've got to get your socket in. Here we go. We're going to come in. We're going to pop this on. That is sort of the profile we would have. Again, these, if you've never used an HP, if this is your first HP, buy the next size that you need. Whether you want 1/4, 3/8, or 1/2-inch, try it. You're going to like it. If you like this, this will be your introduction to the HP line, perhaps. I tell you that in very good faith, based on how well I have liked the 916 over the years. So, that's sort of how that would work. Close quarter with the bits. Let's just go with the 6 again. I'll have to find something probably to eject this, but we'll come in. We will press, very positive retention there. Very close quarters. This is smaller profile. Picture this as number 2 Phillips, posi, whatever you need. That is a lot smaller than a ton, and I do mean a ton of stubbies, right? So right here, with the ratchet action of a 90-tooth mechanism, we are shorter than the shaft coming out of a Hazet stubby. Pretty crazy, right? So, cool stuff there. Let's see how difficult this is to... Not bad at all. I was expecting more of a struggle there. So, that sets that up. Now, this is where things start to get interesting, and I really have no idea what to expect with this, how to interact with it. We're just going to come in and grab this because it's bigger and it's the easiest to see. We have 8 and we have 10. Here we have a 13mm opened-end wrench. We've got the Hazet branding. You've got Germany scripted across right there. If we flip her over, we've got the size right here at the top, conveniently divided this time. You can tell it's 13 and then the 450B. And then if you look at this end and you're like, well, they sent you 1/2 wrench. What a joke. No, that, if it looks like it's a 1/4-inch hex drive adapter, it is. So this is where things kind of get crazy and I don't know what to expect. Case in point, let me just prove this to you. This is the Hazet that we took out of here that I said has a great magnet. Just like we plugged a bit in, now we plug that in. So I've now created sort of the back end of the wrench. If I need a little bit more leverage than I have there, I've got this. However, if you're thinking like me, you're like, okay, well, that means this would happen. So I don't know quite what one would do with this. Obviously, the thing is, like, you in this position, if we had, say, a valve cover, okay, and we were able to get off both of the outboard pairs, bolt 1, bolt 2, bolt 4, and bolt 5, but the middle one, for whatever reason, is seized, it's stuck. It goes to a water jacket or something, and you were spinning these off with the ratchet, this extension, and the socket, and this one is just, you're not getting it, and you think, okay, well, I have this Advent Calendar smart case set to work with. What should I try now? If we're just going to assume you have a big enough relief in the valve cover to actually get this in, this is basically like having a wrench, so we might be able to get more leverage there. In terms of the ratchet action, I guess if it was up here and we could somehow twist and apply the side load while simultaneously spinning, I don't really know, but that is a actual thing. So I don't own anything remotely close to this. I can tell you that something that's always interested me ever since I started buying German tools was items just like this that plug into a torque wrench. Stavilla, Hazet, you see it, even Gador. You'll just see, like, you're looking for, say, a 13mm wrench, and you're like, well, let me see if they have this brand, and you get down there to the bottom of the page, or page 2, and it's like, boom, there's just this wrench insert. Again, I don't ever use them. I've never used them professionally. I've never used them here at the house. But it's always kind of been like, oh, that's kind of an interesting take. I always worry that if I ever did have to torque something, this is going to fly apart and, hurt me or send me flying most likely. Or, worse yet, damage the workpiece. But There's another thing about this Bit Ratchet. You're thinking like, this guy has the Hazet Bit Ratchet. I remember him bringing it in, and you're correct, and it would have the comfort grip, and who knows, we might like it better. But if you paid close attention to what we brought in, or when we've kind of moved this thing around, or how I awkwardly stop instead of going full circle, it's for good reason. You see that? It's not like a button, there's no LED lens. This, if we are able to zoom in and showcase it a little bit, does that look like there's a spring retainer, and does it sort of look like there's 6 sides, like a hex shape? Well, let's take our trusty, this is the easiest item to see here. Did we just do what you think we just did? We did. We have now taken our 90-tooth Bit Ratchet. Obviously, there's no 90-tooth mechanism here, but same thing. Let's say that we couldn't generate enough leverage there. We could come in, and this is a really strange scenario as well, but you could put the adapter. Let's just go ahead and do it so people, will believe, and seeing is believing, right? That's what they always say. So we're going to take our 13mm, we've got a valve cover we're working on, trying to break it free. We've created basically here a spinner, like a fast handle. But by sticking this random wrench end in, I've got a little bit more leverage to break it free, because the first item, when we tried the wrench down here, didn't work. All sorts of crazy things we can do. But while we could technically do this with the socket, we can pull the socket, we can get the adapter out, we could come in, again, with our bit of choice right here, plug it in, and we can drive this manner, and just, again, fast action spin it, obviously influenced by that being there. With this off, it's a much better balance, as you may imagine. But here's what's really cool, okay? Let's get the adapter, or the bit, I should say, out of there. Now we take our 13mm wrench and we do this. And at this point in time, we've got ourselves way more leverage, right? So I don't exactly know what they have in mind with these. I've just gone over some basic scenarios that are crazy, and I hope you were never in these situations to have to rely on this. But if you have this smart case with these tools, and the job requires it, you can do some crazy stuff. Now, we can also just come right in, and where is the... What did I do with the Bit of Thanks? We'll just grab another one, because Lord knows we have a lot of them. This is not Hazet. This is the Felo number 2. I can stick that sucker in, and we've basically got ourselves a bit driver, right? Whether we're going in like this, if it's a door hinge, if we're coming down in a panel, if we're under, on our backs going up. Why you would do that instead of this, I'm not 100% sure. It could be clearance, could be space constraint type of a thing. But the fact that you can is pretty dadgum cool. So what I'm going to do, I think we've covered that. I'm going to go to the box. I'm going to grab ourselves the comparisons for that item. And I'll try to grab a bigger Hazet socket. I think I have a 1/2-inch drive, and I was kind of like testing out, seeing what I like. And then we're going to populate the smart case. Also, I'm going to try to get something out of my nose so I can talk a little clearer for you. Alright, so we're back again. My apologies on whatever in the world's wrong with the left side of my nose. But you'll note new additions right here. We've got the Hazet 863 HPS. That's going to be a quarter drive, hyperfine ratchet obviously, but with a quick release. And then we've got the 863 HPB. Note, when I flip this sucker over, we've got the hanging hole, we've got the pad, we've got the comfort grip, but we do not have the built-in bit ratchet in the bottom. So here these two are side by side. Obviously, when we get them in this position, you can see the similarities here. Now, I kind of wonder if this wasn't designed shorter with a fat... I couldn't imagine this much material being all comfort grip for as rigid as that is. So I kind of wonder if they didn't bush this out a little bit and install that. Obviously, I've never seen one bare. I've never cut the handle off of one. This is the only one I own. But that is a good comparison for you between these two. So it is a bit different. No pun intended there. But the main thing, again, is that bottom access point. So just to prove that there's no trickery on my end or Hazet's, I can take this same adapter. If I can see, we can snap her in place. Similarly, we'll just come in and grab again the big square. Right, pretty interesting little setup here. I have also, for your viewing pleasure, grabbed this just once more to kind of showcase the way they do sockets, right? So you've got a satin finish here, which is, you know, it's not rough, but you have a very positive grip. You also have the knurling, which I personally love. If you need to spin these by hand, whatever it may be. And then right there, they kind of graduate just to more of like a classic American finish. Obviously, it's not that type of a chrome, but it's more of a polished luster. This is a 12-point, it's half-inch drive, but it gives you an idea of what these look like, just kind of scaled up. Right, so obviously you add a ring of knurling here for the half-inch drive. I don't know what 3/8 has, but I thought, you know, that's kind of hard to see. We have one, let's showcase the bigger one so people kind of understand it. But we will set that off to the side. I'm not gonna lie, this part may seem dorky to some of you will be on the same page as myself. One of the coolest things, obviously the Ratchet sort of steals the show. Those bit insert wrenches, however we might wind up using them. Obviously you could use them as a standard wrench. It's just, again, just like with the Vera, you know, self-setting jokers, if I have the ability to use, say, you know, a half-inch drive socket, ratchet, and then a wrench of equal size on the back of the nut, that's what I'm going to do. I could technically use that, you know, on anything that requires a wrench, whether it's this, whether we hold that with pliers, whether we plug it into the bottom of the handle, the top, whatever. You could use it, it just might not be the most efficient thing for you. But this is what I am just about as excited about, mainly because I've never had one, I've never held one, I've never, you know, messed around with one. This is a Hazet Smart Case. So it's kind of like a modern take on a compact toolbox. If you think of like the Felo Strong boxes, the Gador L box, all of that sort of stuff, this is like Hazet's bookcase toolbox. You could put this literally, you know, like you could write, you know, machining 101 and it would look like a book, right? You could put it by floppy disks if you still have them, and it would look right at home, or it might look like a case of floppy disks. But if you flip it around to this side, you've got the Hazet branding, you've got the set contents. It sort of tells you. If you have lots of these smart cases, and there's several of this size, let's say you've got one that is in fact, you know, a quarter drive ratchet with a bunch of sockets, you would see that here. And this one you would know, oh, that's my Advent calendar, because it's the Bit Ratchet, you know, with the bit wrenches. I guess that's what we would call those in this case. And then, you know, you'd have all of your bits and adapters and so on and so forth. Looking at it, you've got the Hazet branding here with the Hazet blue mirrored on this side. This one, no set contents, no designation, just blank. Back side, you just have one flat. This is, I don't want to say soft touch, but it's like a dashboard type of a feel, right? If that makes any sense. You've got the branding here, split, and the way this is going to open, check that out. I guess that's a magnetic strip. Yep, that's what it sounds like. Opening it, okay, check this out. It's like a shadow foam board type of a deal, but in plastic. And then down here in the case, if you're like, well, what's the point of all that? Well, check this out. You can set it up. You can rest it in place right there, and it's like an easel where you can easily see what's there and available for you. I don't know if you can do that anywhere else. I guess there it can, actually. You sort of see what's going on. Same thing, you could put it in the middle, sort of. I'm not 100% sure. I've never messed with it. This seems to be the best bet just by the way things line up. I think that's what we would do. Again, we've got a 90 degree here for maximum strength on the back end. And again, if you follow this little groove line in the plastic, seems to me that that is what they would want. So if I set this down and quit talking, it's not going to be even because obviously we've got tools there. But it shows you what's inside, it populates it, and you just open this up and there's your tools. If you use this for like a little job, you know, somewhere at your kitchen counter, whatever it may be, and you're missing a bit or you're missing the bit holder, you're like, oh hey, I forgot to put that stuff back. So it fills that purpose as well. What I'm going to do is populate this and we'll take a look at it. Note how well it sets here flush without that stuff underneath it. But the coolest thing, Hazet has come out with these smart cases for, like I said, quarter drive socket sets, 3/8 sets, quarter and half-inch drive sets, all sorts of things. And they're expensive, as you would expect with all things Hazet, but I have really wanted to kind of see one, feel one, get a close-up experiment, play around with it, and this is going to give us a chance to do that. So I'm going to populate this thing. We'll see how I do it, what I think of it once we're actually working with this plastic, and I will report back to you. Alright, so this is pretty cool. I sadly had one mistake on the advent calendar. This guy right here, a 3, was behind door number 12. It's one of those doors that had 2 items. I'll tell you right now, doing that through the camera, number 1, the perforations blend in. Number 2, I wasn't quite sure, you know, like where we're pulling back to. So here with 12, right, like I raised it up, got it out, turns out there were 2. So that's a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. So now I have to redo this, but I was kind of looking at the way they did it, and they had them lined up. Obviously, there's 6 Torx bits, so that makes sense. My deal was, I was like, well, is it going to be easier for me to get to the Phillips number 2 at the top or at the bottom? I decided probably at the top. I could be wrong there. We might adjust this anyway. But I left a couple of them out, notably our adapter, which will be pretty common, you know, requested item, I felt. So we'll put that up here. Check this out. Just drops and clicks into place. These little sockets are held quite positively, I must say. Let me actually take a look at this. Huh. Okay, so I didn't see this either, but they're actually labeled, the pegs. I don't know. You can sort of see the 13 there. So we're going to come in, we're going to take that, and we will just press it down. Boom. And then you can see the 13, 10, and I promise that says 8. You can sort of see it. The way these work is really trick. Let's grab the 13. If you're like, there's no way that's going to fit, and you're like, I mean, look at that thing. It's just going to be all over the place. Check it out. It slides down naturally. The bottom end, if you will, of our open end tucks in, and then check that out. The profile just clicks into place. Simple and cool. So, propping this sucker up, now with some weight in it, that works really, really well. So, I gotta say, I kind of dig this. Obviously, for OCD people, we'll put this here, but it's wrong because it's way away from its family. But yeah, I gotta say, this is a pretty neat little setup. Now, with Hazet, the big downside is the price. We didn't cover this earlier. I'm actually pulling it up on my phone because I forgot. MSRP would be $219.12, which is crazy. You know, this, you could price it being Hazet, you know, like around 90-ish. But then it's like bits that shouldn't get you much past 100. And then the 3 Bit Ratchet, I have no idea what to value those at. We could be generous and say like $10 a piece. So we're at like 120, 130. Call the sockets 10 a piece just to make sure you're covered. You're at 160, call that 170. So you do actually get there, and then those are Hazet prices, which again are crazy. MSRP is $219. KC Tool had it for $186.25. The problem is the Hazet Advent calendars aren't produced in the sheer volume of the Vera ones, and they sell out really, really fast. That's why I always tell you, if you want them, you need to get them. There's a chance, like let's say people just scoffed at this, you know, and KC Tool got 50 of them, and you're like, no way am I paying that. It would eventually go on sale if it lasted, but it's probably not going to. Between people that either A, think this is awesome, people that B, think, oh, this is going to be a great gift for so-and-so, C, your collector, C for collector, D, just Hazet super fans, E, people are like, I've needed a Bit Ratchet, this is perfect, people that want to try everything out, people that are just like, I have to know more about these wrench things, let me pull the trigger on that. They're gonna go. And again, I don't tell you that I don't make anything off of it. I don't want you to miss out on these items if you want them. So keep that in mind. That's why if you follow me, I always try to make posts and say, hey, you know, this stuff's available. You know, make sure you grab it if you want it. It's realistically 100% for your benefit, so you don't miss out on it. But the smart case, this is sort of how that would pan out, actually populated. I gotta say, it's pretty cool. I would love to see like a 3/8. Let's check this out. So this is how it would shut, if it does shut. And then it's basically sealed, right? I think so. So we might have it not hitting all the way. Okay, I don't know that this is going to hold. Let's try. Okay, it's not. So obviously you'll want to watch how you store these a little carefully. Like this, how it should be, where you orient this label, you know, or like if you're going to shelve it this way, you do up or down. As long as you maintain it, like carry it from the bottom like you would a box with heavy items in it. Like if you hold it by the handles, the sack's going to break, right? If you hold the box from the top and not the bottom, the stuff's going to fall out the bottom. It's the same thing. If you come in and you just hold it from the top, you know, you run the risk. It may not happen, but it could happen that it would, you know, fall open like this. But then the other thing, I'm just going to go ahead. I don't want to tear this part up because I do like this. This is me. This side has nothing. This has all the tools. You can see I've got this hand. Let's just keep it here in harm's way, putting the alphas to use. That's not going anywhere. So yeah, you could have this pop out, but if you carry it, if you're smart about your smart case, you're not going to have any issues with it, and you shouldn't be abusing it to that degree, given what's inside anyway. But I would kind of be intrigued if the prices, it's one of those deals. It's just like with the Joker self-setting wrenches from last week on the Black Friday video. If there is ever some Hazet sets that's reasonably priced and then goes on Tool of the Day that's in like a bigger smart case, I'd love to check it out just for the smart case. Obviously it would be beneficial like if it was a quarter drive socket set, and then we can sort of like complete our set. I don't know if I'll leave this stuff in here or use the sockets like on a socket rail, or, you know, get the Bit Ratchet out and in the toolbox so we can use it. Kind of torn on that. I'll just kind of see how it goes down. But if I didn't have already the Bit Ratchet, that thing would not be staying in there. The bits, we could just as easily, you know, like throw them in something like this, you know, where we've got, you know, like all the Bit of Thanks and some center punches and stuff, and basically build your own kit. But the smart case is super cool. The ratchet is amazing as a bit ratchet. In terms of the bit wrenches, that's going to remain to be seen, in my opinion. But I'm very interested in them. I've never used anything remotely like it. If you have, what do you do and why do you use them? I don't mean that like, you know, insulting. I'm like, that's curiosity. I'm wanting to know, like, what is the field? Is it just like micro tool sets? You can't carry like a big bag with you. You know, it's like when wildlife biology kids have to go out to Pantex, you know, and they're supposed to like check insects and mice and stuff, but they can't run or they'll be shot, and they can't swing the nets fast or they'll get shot. And it's like, why are we here? We're never going to catch anything. Is that type of deal. If you do field work and they don't let you carry like anything bigger than, you know, a 3x3 footprint, I could see this being practical. But for everything else, it's sort of like, this is cool and a novelty and you could function with it. But wouldn't you rather just have like the regular wrench, you know? So these are very interesting. The sockets are great. They're really, really good sockets. Haven't had issues with mine. The Bit Ratchet is going to be, like I said, your key point. This thing, there's good ones, there's bad ones. This one seems to be pretty legit. And then the bits do look amazing, I will say that. Let me grab the T40 just so I can make a point of this. This is my bad thumb here, by the way. So we're gonna ditch that and we're gonna go with number 2 Phillips. Okay, so if you have small hands, this would be advantageous. If you have big mitts, might be cumbersome. Obviously pliers, let's just be straight up honest here. I can come in. I know the T40, the way I populated it, is here. And I'm not going to hold the smart case at all. This hand is here with the number 2 Phillips. This hand is loosely holding the channel locks. Let's see what we can do. Oh, if the edge of the mat wasn't there, we might have drug it off. So, I mean, that shows you that it holds that very well. But let's go with the 40 because I think it'll be a little easier to see with the green. All right, so you've got the Torx designation and the 40, but on this bit, if I zoom in for you, do you see the Hazet branding? Right there. Good stuff, right? And again, listen. It's like a zipper. It's machined really, really well. Now, again, just so you can see this populated, it's way easier to populate it than unpopulated. There we go. We come in, we grab this, take the number 2 Phillips, seated, boom. A little difficult, at least initially. I'm sure as you use this, it wears more and more. I don't know if it would get to a point where it doesn't retain at all, but initially difficult to remove is my observation. But the main items, like right here, are adapter, which flew off. Not terrible, and again, you can kind of see that would showcase it's not here, what's missing. This thing right here, same thing again. Smaller heads, you're going to have a way easier time with that. But this is sort of your like crown jewel of this set. I'm a dork, so I'm very, very intrigued by the smart case itself. The bit ratchets are just cool. Bit wrenches, I guess is what I'm officially going to call them until I know otherwise, but they make sense. It's part wrench, part bit. This goes in bit hold, case in point. Okay, let's pull the 13 out. We'll try to... So that was a little smoother. We've done it once or twice now. Let me grab, I think this is the guy I'm looking for, Wiha 3K. Oh yeah, the glory days, the early days of the channel, and you know, early KC tool hauls. Check this out. So just to prove this like is not a gimmick, you can plug this into anything. If you're a snap-on person and you've got a quarter hex bit driver, boom, you can put this Hazet wrench end on it. What would you realistically do with it aside from just, you know, hey, I'm using this because I can. It's like a fondue fork. I don't know, but you can. These truly are plug and play. It's not like all of this is exclusive to this smart case and you can't use it with anything else. That is absolutely not the case. I think it's important we stress that since some of this is unique. Another case in point here. Which one is quarter? Is it red? Let me do some checking over here. This is a bad example, but functional. So right here, if we come in and we grab, I was right, red is quarter. Sometimes I remember things. That's just a number 2 Felo Bit of Thanks, right? We can come in. Let's see if we can get this out. Got it, but it kind of scuffed me there down below. But we take this, and boom. Seats just the same. So again, terrible example. That's not what this is designed for. It's not a bit holder, but it shows you that this truly is universal stuff. I guess this is a better example for you since it's not a wrench coming out of a hex bit. We take this guy right here, get the right side, and boom, there you go. So it really is. I mean, if you hate this, if you hate the ratchet for some reason unimaginable to me, you can literally take all of these bits, use them with your favorite bit holder, different bit ratchet, whatever it is you want to do, you can make it happen. So, with that said, my sincere apologies for my nose. Again, I would love nothing more than to be able to breathe out of both nostrils. That's not been possible for about a month now, so I'm going to try to contend and deal with that. This is a pretty sweet little setup. Is it worth the money? That's kind of up to you. Is it a novelty enough item that you'll love it? Is this something where you're like, novelty, how dare you? I'm going to use the snot out of this thing. Of course it's worth it. Wherever you lie on that spectrum, that is sort of up to you. Sadly, at this point in time, short of, you know, like having buddies in Germany or Europe where this might still be available, or produced in enough, you know, quantities that it does go on clearance or is still something able to be purchased, there will be people selling these, but they will not be selling them for $186, let alone $219. They're going to be scalping them. It's a situation where you see this, you love it, you have to have it. They're aware of that. They treat it just like any hot gift or anything in high demand and short supply. They're going to milk you for everything you're worth. My advice, I wouldn't pay more than the 186, really. You know, I mean, it's cool if you have to have it and you can get it for like 200, go for it. 220, sure. But if you're thinking like, oh, there's a guy selling it for 350, should I do it? No, don't. Don't. Go buy the Bit Ratchet like I showed earlier. It's going to be way less. You can outfit it with way more. Now these, if this is your deal, I don't know where else to get those. You could probably make them if you had to. If you can't make them, you could have them made. You'd still probably come out economically better than shelling out a crud ton of money for this thing. But they are unique. They're very unique. So I'm interested to know, if you have it, what do you do with them? If this is like a thing that's not unique and not new and they've been around for years and I'm just the only person that doesn't know about them, so be it. But in all my life, I've never seen a wrench attached to a quarter drive bit. So, 1/4-inch hex drive. We have to specify hex. It's not just like a plug-in type of a deal. It's hex. So, pretty cool though. I mean, for what we got it for, I think it was a good deal. It's interesting, something to bring in. If we didn't already have the Bit Ratchet, I think it's something you could almost say, yeah, you know, given that it's Hazet and their prices, this is worth it. If this is your demo world for the HP, for their sockets, and you like them, even for their bits, it will more than pay for itself. The smart case, while it's super cool and unique, obviously there's not much you can do with it past this. If you want to populate this with your bits of choice, you could do that. In terms of another Bit Ratchet fitting here, it's unlikely, but this is a great Bit Ratchet, so your bits go there. If you want to switch this out, obviously any 1/4 drive socket should fit. So you would just plug it in if you're SAE. If you want, you know, 10, 13, 15, you could do that. Whatever, you know, there is some room. I would think it would clear. Don't hold me to that. I'm not going to try it. But I have to say, it is a pretty cool little set, and I am not at all disappointed that we got it. So there's a good look at this side. You can see the metal tabs, and then as that closes, boom, self-seal. So that's it. The whole advent calendar condenses to that form factor. Let me spin around here while I'm thinking about it. What is the footprint on this guy? Just under 4, just over 4, and then in terms of our thickness, just under 2. So 3x4x2, 4x3x2, 2x3x4, whatever. It's small. It's ridiculously small. So what do I want to do now? Just in case you didn't, you know, have like the full view of everything in here, we're going to quickly go through this, recap it if you will. Right here, we'll have to stand this up. The bit wrenches, I don't know what else to call them. 13, 10, and 8, your 1/4 drive sockets, 13, 10, and 8. You get the adapter, you get the super cool Bit Ratchet, which again uses both positions. Number 1 and 2 Phillips, number 1 and 2 Posi. Coming up here to the yellow, you get a 1.54 and a 6.5. Then we come in and we've got our 1/4 hex to 1/4 square drive adapter. And in terms of your metric hex keys or Allens, you've got 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you've got 6 Torx sizes, T10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 40. Like I said, if you're only going to use this, if you're in Canada and you need square drive, if you only want slotted, if you want more Posi, the cool thing is all that is universal. You can swap it and change it to your heart's content. Now, right here, this showcases this, okay? Unlimited combination of options. So you've got this with, I guess, a bit. You've got the bit adapter with the socket. You've got the wrench coming out of the bottom of the Bit Ratchet, which again, that's the closest to the length of a standard wrench. You've got the adapter with the bit, kind of an extension in that case. You've got a socket here with an adapter, and then you've got the bit extender with a bit. And then right here, just so you know I'm not crazy, you've got like the number 2 Phillips sticking out the handle so you can stab people, and then you've got this so you can like gouge them. I don't really know. It is what it is. There is that. Again, that's about all I know to share about this advent calendar. Our first ever Hazet Advent Calendar. I gotta say, it is pretty cool. Would I buy one again? Depends what's in them. That's kind of, you know, the price point and what's in it. Like if we get one and it's just another Bit Ratchet and bits, I'll probably pass, you know, unless it's a really good deal. If it's a deal where it's super cool 3/8 specialty ratchet that's never going to be available again, and sockets that I actually need, or, you know, bit sockets, you know, like Torx sockets or something along those lines, got to consider it. But it is expensive. That's the big downside. That's why a lot of people pass on them just to begin with. I do not understand why Hazet in particular is so expensive over here. But that's just how it's been ever since I knew of them. That's how it's stayed this entire time. I will say, though, and I genuinely believe that their sockets, particularly 1/4 drive, aren't terribly out of line. So that's sort of your saving grace if you do want to swap 8, 10, and 13 or just add to it. Who knows, you might love this enough that you put it in like a metal case or your toolbox, and you've got a socket rail where you can pair stuff with it. Sort of the sky is the limit. So what I want to know from you, outside of like, what do you do with the bit wrenches? If anything, had you ever seen the bit wrenches? Does it just blow your mind? Do you think it's idiocy? Your thoughts on that is appreciated. For everyone that went out and bought one of these, what are your thoughts after having it in hand? The smart case, the bit ratchet itself, the quality of the bits, the bit wrenches, all those things, let us know your opinions on. For everyone else that doesn't have one of these, is it something, assuming like, let's just say that this is super affordable and reasonable, is this something you would buy? And if so, is it because of the utility, the uniqueness, the limited edition collectability factor, or is it something that you would just be like, what were they thinking? This is terrible. I'm going to wait and hope next year's better. So, good conversations for discussion down there. If anyone knows how to get your nose to function again, that would be very much appreciated, because I'm getting sick of this. Feel fine aside from that. Just can't breathe out of half of my nose, which is kind of as big of a problem as you think it would be. So, with that said, the most important thing I want you to take away from this is Merry Christmas. I hope you have a fantastic Christmas. Hopefully you get some time off. You get to see some friends, some family. Hopefully make some good memories. If you have bad time, maybe you it's so bad you have to absolutely start the new year off on a positive note type of a deal. And like I said, I sincerely appreciate everyone, watching the videos, interacting with the channel, sharing your thoughts and opinions, whether you're like, how do you not know about bit ratchets, you bit wrenches, you idiot, or, like, hey, that's a complete ripoff. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I wish I would have had one. I sincerely appreciate it, the good and the bad. So with that said, I will quit rambling. I got to get inside, try to get my nose functioning a little bit better, and hope, like I said, you have a great Christmas. So thanks for a good year. Thanks for a great Christmas. I hope you had a good one, and I will catch you back here for more action from the shop. But wait, there's more. Underneath the cool content guideline on the back, it shows you what you should get if you missed anything behind the doors, you have missing slots. All of them are populated, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. Should have been apparent. But you've got the interactive Advent Calendar. So they do a lot of cool stuff. That's another bonus. Again, the gift card, and then all those QR codes and everything that you saw. So with that said, this is really the end. I hope you have a fantastic Christmas. I'll catch you back here next Saturday for more action from the shop.